Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And just a reminder, my home base is wedon'tdie.com, where you can always find some great things. We have medium classes. We offer a free Sunday gathering inspirational service with medium demonstration included every single Sunday, going on our 6th year now. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page at wedon'tdie.com, and if you wish, you can enter your name and your email address in my mailing list. There's several great goodies I give you, including my book, We Don't Die. It says you just get the first few chapters. The secret is it's the entire book. Chapter 10 is about grief, and I don't want money to come between you having it and not. So that's all at wedon'tdie.com. And our conversation today, we'll have a great talk, I'm sure, with a 20-year celebrated medium called Becs Sawyer, author of the book Suicide and the Surviving Spirit: True Life Stories of Healing Through Mediumship. Becs shares extraordinary real-life accounts of reconnection between those who have passed by their own hand and their loved ones, illuminating the profound healing and enduring love that mediumship really can offer. Together, let's discover how these powerful stories bring light to the shadow of heartbreak and courageously open up conversations about grief, loss, and the eternal bonds that transcend physical life. You can find Beck's website at becsmedium.com. It's Becs, B-E-C-S, with a dash, then medium.com. Let's meet her. Becs, welcome to We Don't Die.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's lovely to be here. That was a beautiful introduction.
Oh, well, I'm so proud of you and the work that you do, not just as a medium, but touching a subject that is not often spoken about. So I think to hear your story, to shed a little light on what it is that you do, and some amazing reunions you've had with those in the afterlife, and tell us more about that. So if you wouldn't mind, let us know a little bit about you, where you're from. Were you born with psychic abilities? Tell us about you.
Okay, I'm based just outside London in the UK. I'm not what when you talk about mediumship, people say, "Oh, it's a special gift." It wasn't for me. I didn't. I know the mediums that say they knew it from the moment they just were born. They knew they were mediums. With me, it's taken me a long time to find myself, find my mediumship. Whenever I teach, I always say mediumship is easy. It's a natural phenomenon. So we're all inherently mediums. What makes it a challenge is us as the medium. Where are we? So I spent a whole lifetime finding me, finding my path. And it wasn't until I went through my own physical and emotional transitions, did the right tutors come along, did the awakening happen, did I find sacred plant medicines that helped me on my journey of me. And it's been a continual journey. And I always say with any mediumship, it literally is, we're always just scratching the surface. As we develop as ourselves, our mediumship grows. And I mean, when I think about me as a little boy, I mean, it wasn't, I wanted to talk to spirit people. I wanted to talk to dead people. That's all I wanted to do, but nothing. Because as a little boy, I just wanted to be a mermaid, which was great when I was 7, not so good at 28. But, so it has been a real journey for me, both spiritually, emotionally, physically. And there is that saying that, I hate the word best mediums, but I think the most evolved mediums have had the toughest lives.
I would agree with you there from some of the mediums I know and their stories. And even me, I had to go through some of the deep, dark heartache in order
Yeah.
to be with you here today. So
I
you've been a
was
practicing medium 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, I started developing 20 odd years ago, and now it's become my life. It's why I'm on the planet. I'm doing a dem maybe 4 or 5 nights a week. So it might be a show, a charity night, a church, but I'm doing a dem for. So my relationship with spirit and the spirit world is one that it's a daily event. So it's really what I'm alive for.
Yeah.
And I think for me that ultimately, in our work as mediums, our work is healing. And I don't look any mediumship. Yes, there's a value to. I've got a lady here. It might be your auntie, might be your friend, might be this, might be that team, might be that. But spirit know what they want to do, and the job of the medium is to get out of the way and let the spirit know do their job. They know their job, and once we've got what I call that evidential profile of who it is, get out of the way. Let spirit facilitate and build on that reunion, and within that reunion, everything that recipient needs for that healing.
Let's get into the topic of
Sure.
suicide and the book that you wrote. I know for myself, we offer the free Sunday gathering I mentioned
Yeah.
at the beginning, and we get people from all over the world that attend on Zoom, 150 to 200 people a week. And it breaks my heart any time when the medium says, okay, we've got a son or a daughter here in the spirit world. But when they say they ended up taking their own life, I'm sure you can imagine how many hands go up, virtual hands go up. So many. And I can't even imagine, Bex, the grief that's involved in that. So I wouldn't mind shedding some light on the subject. What made you write this book? And what we love more than anything on We Don't Die is stories that let us know that our loved ones go on. So if you could open up this topic and then share some stories that you have, perhaps those from the spirit world that have.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I believe the more experience as a medium we have, the more empathic we are. So I spent a lot of my life in that place of being suicidal thoughts, never acted on it, but so straight away I have no judgment. I'm totally empathic to it, and I'd been asked for a while to write a book, and I thought no one's going to want to read about me, and there's lots of autobiographies out there, and I was kept putting it off, and then literally it came to me from spirit about, well, what about you work with those that take, I don't like the word suicide. I call it they take themselves home. And I was working quite a few people, and then it just came together, and the title came from spirit, and then the subtitle came from my mentor, and it just evolved. And what the book is, yes, there's a little bit about me and how I work as a medium, but the book in essence is six people's experiences they've shared with me, that they've worked with me, and the experience of healing they've had from the reunions that have manifested from spirit. And I always say, whenever I work in any situation, no matter who you're working with, nothing any medium says to anybody can take away the pain of how much someone misses someone's physically. You can't take away the pain of the missing, the hugs, the cuddles. You can't do that, but it can change how we grieve. And especially when we're talking about losing a loved one, a child in particular, to suicide. And again, I'd rather use that taking themselves home, because with my work, losing a child is a order of things, and it's one of the most painful reunions that can be. But to lose a child who takes themselves home, you've compounded that loss with guilt, with anger, everything else that goes with it. And if you can have a situation where, in the book, there's one particular story of a son who comes through for his mum, took away the guilt of what she was feeling. It doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't take away the missing, but it helps change how we grieve. And that's it for me. It just helps with that grieving process and that going, well, they're okay. Yes, they're okay. The love's still there. Yes, it is. And it suddenly helps with everything in that process of healing.
Thank you. Could you give us some of the evidence perhaps that you brought through that the parent went, that's my son or
Yeah.
daughter?
I mean, this particular one was a son, and he came through. And what I remember, if I remember rightly, with him, he came through very gently, found his mum, and just dropped. I think he did it very gently with the evidence, what I call the evidential profile. So in the end, she had no doubt it was him, and then it was simply about going, "You couldn't have stopped me doing it," and you could feel her go, "Oh." Because and again, spirit are the ultimate intelligence. They know exactly what they want to say, how they want to say it. My job is to get out of the way so they can do it. So that if I'm working with someone who's taken themselves across, they'll know exactly how they want to present themselves to that loved one, to the parent, to the lover, to the sister, to the child, they'll know exactly how, they'll know that person better than I ever will. So the more I can let them just do their work, the more that reunion becomes more perfect, if you like, in its healing potential.
Is it your experience? I think it is, as a medium, that when you get out of the way, the reading could be over and you don't remember all the little
Yeah,
bits because spirit was guiding the way.
exactly. I people say to me, "Do you remember when you got my mum through?" And I go, "I can't remember yesterday." You know, the analogy I draw with people, the analogy I share with people is, I'm a mobile phone. So so if I'm a mobile phone, I charge myself up before I work. I build my working power, my soul power up, my working energy up. I put in my SIM card, which links me to O2, links me to the divine. I turn it on, I link with the audience, and that is it. And the more in fact, for me, the less I remember, for me, the better the reunion's been, because the more I'm out of the way. You know, I chat and banter with them. I work with a lot of laughter and a lot of fun, because, you know, and I do, you know, we have laughter, we have tears. And, you know, I always say, yeah, it's a show. It's never show business, but I want people to feel part of every you, if they feel part of everything we work together. But for me, when that reunion is happening, when the words that come out, I will often say what I throw as a throwaway comment at the end. I think, oh, that's a bit rubbish, but it changes someone's life, because the spirit person was waiting right to the end to drop one little thing in that is so profound for that recipient. I might be going, really, a cake in the fridge, and they go, yeah, every night. And then what that then does, it then brings the whole reading in, and so the whole reunion now becomes even more real. And if we take it back to those that take themselves across, what the spirit person is trying to do is say, look, I'm here, I'm still alive. And one of the things I find frustrating, and I can be a bit contentious, is I feel, if I know anyone that takes himself across, takes himself home, will never come back saying, I'm sorry I did it, because they own responsibility for what they did. And as soon as they say, I'm sorry I did it, it means the person watching me or I'm working with will think, oh, could I have done more? Well, no, they'll come through saying that they own responsibility for what they did. They might come through saying, I had no idea of the repercussions it was going to cause. But they won't come through going, oh, I'm sorry I did it. No, they won't. They really won't, because that puts responsibility back on the living. And the spirit person's going, no, I'm responsible. We own responsibility when we cross over. And there's no judgment. That's another thing we can talk about. There's no judgment on the other side. It's love. It's just love. Yeah, the power of love.
It's good words. I remember before I got interested in the afterlife, I cast judgment on people that took their own life and, oh, they took the easy way out. These things I would say, crazy.
Yeah.
When I have not been ready to take my own life, I have not. But I know 15 years ago when my dad passed, the grief from that, relationships came apart with my siblings. Bex, I hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I got to experience what it feels like to know there's no way out of this.
Yeah.
And not that I was going to take myself home, but all of a sudden I got this compassion, empathy for those that do, because there is a place. And if anyone watching or listening has never been there and
Oh,
your loved one has gone, please know there is a deep, dark place. And I would imagine it is a courageous act because it's scary into the unknown, but knowing that there has to be some sort of relief. Let's talk a little bit about the family members.
sure.
You mentioned guilt. I know I've spoken to many people, if they could have only done something different, what would you say to them, or what would their loved one say to them through a reading?
This is an example that happened recently in a reading, because what happens, those that survive, those that are still in the physical world, because we all survive, those in the physical world will always go, well, what if I did more? What if I did this? Well, I had a young guy come through recently speaking to his friend, and the final words were, even that phone call that night wouldn't have made any difference. And he was like, yeah, I was going to phone him. Well, he knows you're going to. It wouldn't have made any difference, because he knew what he was doing. And I think a lot of the work is is helping release the guilt and, of course, the anger. Because they're angry, especially if it's such a child that they're not so much angry at the child, they're angry at themselves. And and some of them, the one I've worked with, there's a brother in the book whose sister wrote, but I've worked with the parents as well. And I actually met, now here's an interesting story. I actually met this young man before he actually passed. I was doing a show. He reunited with his name, and he's showing me what happened. And there's three people in the front row, and they said, "Yeah, it's all here, but he hasn't passed yet." I said, "Well, I know I'm with you. What have I got wrong?" And they said, "Well, no, he tried to take himself across. They saved him before he passed, but he was in a vegetative state. He was in a dreamlike state." So I went, "Oh, okay, so well, can you just pass on to the parents?" I gave him a little message. And this happens. I get this reunion with people who've got advanced dementia and Alzheimer's as well, because the human body can't hold them. So the spirit can fluctuate. It happened to me the other night. But coming back to this young guy, I got the parents rang me up, and the mother rang me up. She got in contact. She said, "Would you actually like to meet him?" And I went, "Okay, nothing weird about that one." So I actually went to where he was in the neurological unit, and bless him, I won't say his name, but he was obviously he was still with us physically, but he was in a dreamlike state. He couldn't communicate, but he blended with me. He actually blended with me in front of his mum and his sister, and it was beautiful. It was one. Then he sadly passed a while later, and I was invited to his funeral, his celebration, and he comes through every so often, and he'll give a little evidence it's him. But what that has done, it's helped the parents understand a little bit. It does not for a second take away the missing of that son. Not for a second. But what it's done, it's helped them understand that he's okay, that he's around. He's still a little bugger. Excuse my swearing, but he is. He always was. He comes back with that memory of what he was like. Remember, when we deal with spirit, we're dealing with their memories in that soul loving space. But we're not dealing with their eternal spirit is the memory of, in this lifetime, it's the memory of that soul experience within the physical body. So he comes back being the way he was, loves his sister, winds his mum up. He wound his mum up one night at a show, embarrassed her completely, but that's his nature. Because what's beautiful with this particular young man, if he comes through for the family, I don't have to worry about proving I'm a medium, proving it's him. They know. And within the reunion, we'll be, "Oh, that's him. That's Nigel. He's up. He's at it again." And again, it doesn't stop the missing. It can't. But it's changed how they grieve, because they know he's part of the family still.
Changes how they grieve and also how they live. Grief can kill us internally.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's brutal. It'd be brutal. It can stop us from living ourselves.
Yep.
When we cross.
Yep.
Even if they took themselves home, what's that experience like from what they've told you as a medium? Because to believe that our child or person is judged, or they go to a different place, you and I know that's not true. But for people who this is a first conversation about this and their loved one has taken themselves home, what's the experience like for them? And what are they doing now on that side of life?
I can actually give you such an extreme example of someone takes themselves across after they've committed murder. So I'm doing a house party one night. This man's reunited. It's come out. He's murdered his wife. He's gone to a place. All I saw was I didn't get it quite right. All I saw was yellow trucks and the woman. "Yeah, that's his builder's yard." I said, "Well, that's where he hung himself." And they went, "Yes." The house party I was doing this in, it's his sister. And I'm saying, and she said to me, "Yeah, I've been left with these two children to bring up." So I've got this spirit person who's murdered his wife, hung himself. His poor sister is bringing up the two children. In my head, I've got, "Well, what do you want me to freaking say? What can I say?" And all that came out of my mouth was, "It's okay, love. There's no such thing as hell." And with that, the woman burst into tears and said, "That's all I wanted to know." So I had it from spirit. There is no such thing as hell. And I think also as well, I think what we lose sight of is that when we're here physically in this physical body, we're in a car. This is a car. It's a gift. It's a car. Whenever I work, I make a joke because the whole trans thing, I diffuse it by saying, this body's a conversion job. You know,
That's great. Yes.
I've got my new gearbox. You know, well, it's not that new. It's hardly used, but anyway. By the way, but what I'm getting to is that so this is my life experience, this lifetime. But when I cross over, I'll take the memory of a trans experience. I'll take the memory of well, for me, it's more about aligning. I'm not non-binary. I'm not trans. I just see my path as aligning the divine masculine and the divine feminine, so I can be the best me that I can be because I can then combine both. That's my personal path. But when I cross over, I'll take the memory of that. So when someone takes themselves across, they take the memory of that experience that led up to that moment of taking themselves back home. There's no judgment. There's no one to go, well, you shouldn't have done that. Well, no, that was the life experience they had. And it wasn't just the act they did, it's that life experience they've had up to that moment, they take that memory. Then they go back to the place of pure love, pure consciousness, and they say, right, how can I support my loved ones who are still here within their cars? And it's for me, it goes way past someone going, well, because the judgment is from people this side. It's governed by our ego mind, by our left-sided brain, whatever you want to call it. But when we cross over, it's just like, oh, okay. You've got out of your car a bit early. And because when we cross over, there is no concept of time or space. There's no time or space as we know on the other side. There can't be. It's just not because there's no sun that we go around the other side. It's spirit, it's consciousness, it's love. So we see it differently. We see it for what it is. And then how can we love our loved ones who are still here? How can we support them? And that's when spirit comes through with unconditional love. And my role then is to make sure that that's presented in a way that the recipient, the family, can say, yeah, that's our child, or that's my best friend, or that's my lover, or that's my sister. And then again, it doesn't stop missing because we are in the physical body. We're still in this physical car with all the emotions that come, all the gift we have, the emotions we experience in the physical body, the love, the touch, the feeling, all those things, and all the pain we experience. Their role is go, how can I help you support you through that? And that's what they do, in my view.
I can agree in my view as well. What keeps them busy? And I say this because I've heard mediums say that not only are they just with the family, but they can recognize other people here on earth that are battling whatever it may be, and they try to maybe put thoughts and ideas and joy. Do you believe that there are those in the
Do they
spirit
put
world that are helping us that are here on
that's a
earth?
I that's a very good question. I've never thought of that. Do random spirits help random people? I suppose it's possible. I've never thought of it. I think when we talk about collective soul families, there's a collective connect. I think there's a connection. So I'm not saying they wouldn't do it, but I think my feeling would be we have a connection energetically with our family, with our loved ones, and that's where that conscious connection is. Because when we cross the spirit, and it is different. I do have a challenge when I saw a medium once, and she was going, "Oh, I've got your dad, and he's back down his pub having his favourite pint of beer." No, he's not. There's no beer on the other side. There's no pubs on the other side. There's no because it's physical. It's a different frequency. You might manifest something similar on the other side, but we are loving consciousness and loving spirits on the other side. So what do we do? I don't think we can perceive what we do because we're governed by what we do in a physical body. And what do we do by time? I don't know. People say to me, I've had someone come through and they say, "Oh, I've waited 25 years. Where have they been?" Well, how do you know they've not been anywhere? Because time is time. Time. Time is when time is relative. How often have you been with someone? You look at the clock and go, "Well, where's that last 5 hours gone?" Or you get in the car and you drive somewhere, and suddenly you've got where you're going to and don't remember the drive. It's all consciousness,
Yes,
And sorry.
sorry.
Yeah,
Continue.
so yeah, so for me, I think too many times we try and put a physical explanation on something that's spiritual, and you simply can't. Simply can't.
I
I've
agree.
had some spiritual experiences that you think,
Mhm.
"Whoa, That's what consciousness, because we talk about consciousness, we talk about spiritual consciousness and love. You know, I always quote that last scene from the film Ghost when Patrick Swayze goes, Molly, it's what they say, it's the love inside, you take the love inside. And that's it. The love and the memories. You know, I once had someone say to me, she saw a medium who said, and this medium said to this woman, oh, I've got your dad here, but he's still dizzy with his Alzheimer's. No, he's not. He's got the memory of his Alzheimer's, but he's no more got Alzheimer's. This is where I think it's like some mediums, with the great respect, they try and comfort, like, they try and relate spirit to the physical body, and you can't. It's just so different.
It's true. I know I've interviewed many people who've had near-death experiences, and they said you cannot explain the feeling of unconditional love. There's no way. They also experience colors that we don't have in our spectrum,
Exactly.
music that we don't have here. How can someone explain something and there's no words for it?
Because remember, we're governed by this. Everything's then we judge everything by the physical experience we've got. And don't get me wrong, eyesight is such a gift. A sunrise, a sunset, a mountain view. My eyesight is such a gift, but it's restrictive. And the same with hearing. You know, it's like, well, it's like we're programmed to have this. And again, this body, the feeling of touch, this body is such a gift for this lifetime. But it's just, it's like comparing a car to the person inside driving. The person inside driving is the person, the car is the vehicle. And this vehicle is just the car. This body's just the car for this life experience. You know, and I know it's like, and again, it comes down when we talk about people that take themselves home, it's 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 nothing wrong with the person, the spirit person. It's the car that's not right. It's the ECU, it's the computer that might be programmed wrong. It's the computer that may not have the right program. And the person who gets out of the car goes, okay, yeah, I see it for what it was. It doesn't stop the people in their own cars missing that person so much. And that's when spirit goes, how can I help? Because spirit, again, I say it all the time, spirit of the ultimate intelligence. They know what they want to do. They know it.
Bex, if we have someone listening or watching right now and they are at their wits' end, whether it's a death of a loved one or they just feel like they can't go on anymore, and that word, suicide, is in the title of this episode, and they're giving it this a chance, what would you like to say to that person?
That's a really, really deep question. The first thing I'd say is that if someone knows they're going to do it, doesn't matter what if someone knows they're going to do it, they're going to do it. The only thing I would say is what, in my experience, when I work with those that have taken themselves home, is they don't always know how much they were loved, or they don't know just what an effect it would have on the family. And I had a friend recently who was in that place, and I'm not saying it's done for, she was doing it for attention, but she was in that place, and I said, okay, I support you. I said, I'm not saying, I said, you go and tell your daughter, who's 14 years old, what mummy's going to do, and that's okay. And then knowing that she's not going to have a mum, and I wasn't doing it as a guilt trip. I was saying it's a wake up call. If you are so prepared to do it, then you're prepared to say to your child, I'm leaving you out a parent. Because, and that might sound really callous. I don't wish to, because when someone gets near, they can't see a purpose carrying on. But if you've got a child, there's your purpose. And again, it's the programming in the computer, the car, the soul's beautiful. All our souls are beautiful. We're all beautiful, but we get pulled, we get programmed, we get abused. And one story I will share with you that's come to mind about how a spirit person saved a physical person. It's in the book. So I was working one night at one of my places I work regularly, and this guy reunited with his best friend. There's nothing this lady, nothing sexual, but they were really close, best friends. And he'd take himself home, and she's in the audience, and I'm chatting away. I went, I can't remember the exact. It's in the book. The exact. What is this? A couple of years ago now. I said, oh, you're thinking about doing the same thing? And she went, yes, I am. I said, you're thinking about doing it tonight? Yes, I am. I said, you've got all those pills in the blue and white box waiting for you. And she went, yes, I have. I said, well, you promise him you're not going to do it. And she said, oh, Bex, I promise I won't do it. I said, no, you promise him. And she went, okay. I said, well, talk to me afterwards. So basically, he saved her life. She gave me a hug at the end of the night. She said, Bex, it's a bit more than that. She said, I've got the box of pills in my car. I said to him this afternoon, if you don't come through tonight to Bex, I'm doing it on the way home. So I went, no freaking pressure then. And what happened was she phoned up that morning for a ticket, but we'd all sold out. She phoned at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was one cancellation. So she got the one cancellation at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And she said to me, if you don't come through tonight, I'm doing it. I'm not saying it's not me, it's spirit. But there is a good example of saying spirit saying no. And she's still struggling. She's beautiful. She still gets her wobbles. And she came to a show a couple of weeks ago. And a different friend reunited saying, saw that wobble last week on Wednesday. And she went, yes, it was Wednesday. I said, right, okay. She was with you. Yes, I know. So spirit are taking care of her because she's letting them get close. But if someone says to me, Bex, I'm going to do it, well, it's not my responsibility to stop you. I will talk you through it. There's no judgment. But for me, I'd say, well, look, no matter where you are, this body is still, my body's been through so much. It's like I've been from a 230-pound bodybuilder to having 20 hours of facial surgery, selling everything I own, so I can get some degree of autonomy of what I look at in the mirror. But so I get everything. Something to me that if that's why I don't judge. Something, and I've worked with people. As one person came through, I knew who's committed to. I'm not going to judge them. It's not my place to judge anybody. But what I would always say is what I've learned. It's the huge gasm that is left when someone takes himself home. And I don't think they always know how much, I said it a minute ago, how much they're loved, how much they're needed, how much they're valued, and how much they're supported. And, so when you are in that depth of despair, you don't reach out, you don't know. But all you can, it's like conversation like this. If there's one person watching tonight going, oh, that makes sense. You and I have done our job. If one person reaches out to their friend or their next neighbor goes, oh, or if one person who's lost their child goes, Bex, that made sense. Like, thank you. We've done our job tonight. It only takes one person. It only takes us to reach one person, and we've done our job.
Thank you. I know there are different forms of grief, and we're not taught about grief. That's why I give my book out so much, because chapter 10, it's about grief. And I've had several people who have chosen not to take themselves home because they didn't realize that this thing called grief can cause all these emotions, these feelings, the repetitive negative mind chatter, the feeling of total doom and gloom. There's so many things. So I wanted to address what it feels like and some tools to help move through it. And I love how you said love. We hurt so much because we have such a capacity to love. The more we love, the more it hurts, say when a loved one passes. And so to just shift, like you had said about that person, about, okay, tell your daughter, to imagine, really, we don't know how loved we truly are. We have no idea. And so to, like you said, we can't stop anybody, but if we can shed some light and educate, maybe. But to look at maybe what can be done, because sometimes I know I haven't been there, but I've had some really tough days, and it helps me to make a difference for another person, to be of service, to be around animals, to be out in nature, to kind of get outside of the negative chatter.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And I think for me, it's that the survivors of those that take themselves across, they often feel helpless. They haven't got any tools. They're just like, and a lot of the time they will just, what I tell people not to do is they can go, I become medium stalkers. They go to everything they can find to try and get a message, try and anything. And I will say, no, don't come to me. Just don't come to see me again. Or come see me as you want, but don't go to get a message. Go to every show you want. Go to every church you want, but don't go going to sit in the energy, feel close to the loved one, feel the power, feel the love. That's what we generate. Or I hope as mediums we generate that place of love, that place of, when I work, I create in the energy a place of love and memories that we all sit in. So if even I'm not working with someone, I want them feeling that reunion. If I'm working with something fun, I want them feeling it. And that can bring its own comfort because it brings them close. And again, for me, what I find the pivotal thing for most people who have lost on to take themselves across is that guilt, is that anger, is that I didn't do enough, could I have done more? And when you say, look, even you did this, it wouldn't have changed it. If you sat, there was one recently. I think it was what happened. Yeah, they went home, and they did it when they went home. Well, it wouldn't have changed it. In fact, Friday night I was working in North Essex, and and I got it slightly wrong because I've got this young guy. It's the car, but I knew it wasn't the car. I knew it wasn't the gas in the car. I said, it's his home. It's like the home. Was it in the gap? It's at home. And I can't get it quite right. And there's needles. And the woman said, we said, no, he lived in he had one of these camper vans he lived in. So the car, the van, so I got it slightly wrong. But what then happened is the reunion between the two of them, they were soulmates. But he was troubled with drugs. So she knew. So what he was doing, saying, "I'm here," and for me, what one of the other most challenging reunions for me is when I get a soulmate reunion, when you've got someone who's been together 60 years and they're living with that, and they've only gone temporarily to the other one joins them, whenever it may be, 20, 30, 40 years. But that's almost like putting one step the other. But to lose a soulmate to suicide, to take themselves across, is so painful. Everything's painful, but that is another level because this soulmate, and they are soulmates, but he couldn't do it physically. He was so out of touch with who he was physically, his spirit couldn't do it anymore. He thought he couldn't do it anymore. And the one thing I try and do with my work, especially those that take themselves across, is saying there is no judgment. There is no judgment. And I'm not getting involved with anyone's religion or anything like that, but there is no judgment. My background is I'm not overly Christian. I'm spiritual, but my background is Christian. And the Christ consciousness said two things: unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness. Get those two things right, and you're just living his dream, or her dream, or the consciousness dream. Nothing. Everything else is fluff and mirrors.
Unconditional love and unconditional
Unconditional.
forgiveness.
That's it. And if you can crack that, and it's both ways. Because now my path, I can give unconditional love. I can love unconditionally. I just truly can. But to receive it, geez, that's been a journey. To receive love, I am not so good at that. To give to forgive unconditionally, I can forgive unconditionally. But if I've messed up, oh, that eats me. Even though I know they've forgiven me, that's my journey. But receiving love, I've got a friend that hates me using negative words. I'm not the best at receiving love because it's just part of me.
I think that's part of human nature because I got a little of that too. And also the self-love. Do we look in the mirror and go, oh, I love you? Not from ego, but just from unconditional love.
That has
Bex,
been a real. Come on.
what advice would you have? Not everyone's going to go see a medium. What kind of relationship can we have with our loved one who has passed? Can we keep talking to them? Should we journal? How do you think we can best include them in our lives?
Oh, I love that question. The first thing is, how do you get on with your own spirit? How do you get on with your own self? If you can't blend, whenever I teach mediumship, the first thing I always teach is responsibility. The second thing I always say is, the second question I always say about, what do you think the most important link is you'll ever make in your life as a medium? And I go, I don't know. Yourself. If you can't feel your own spirit, if you can't feel your own soul, how can you ever feel someone else's? Cha-ching. So the first thing I teach, first thing I say is, you've got to go, they go, well, how do I do that? Well, the first is, can you quieten your mind down? They go, no. So here's the exercise you need to quieten down the conscious mind, the chattering mind. We quieten down that, quieten down your own emotions, get your body. So you find that moment of stillness. I don't mean meditation, well, there's a similarity, So you find that moment, you find that place of stillness and surrender into the quiet, into the silence. Then when you're in the silence and you go, hello, okay, okay, I'm there, and then, okay, where's me? Oh, I feel me. And when you feel you, maybe for the first time, you don't need to be a medium to do this, but it takes practice. If you've got one of those minds that never switches off, well, you're going to find, I think people say, Bex, I'll never do that. They come to a workshop and within an hour, they're going like, what have you done? So, no, you've done it. I've just shown you, I've just given you the tools to do it. But then you quieten down that, I said, quieten down that conscious mind, quieten down the whole body. And okay, I can do it now. And this is the same mediumship because, again, I'm a maverick. If you ask me how mediums don't always take time to prepare, that's another topic I can chat about because it's that preparation. Preparation is key in mediumship. And this is the same thing. It's self mediumship. So once you go, okay, I'm there. Oh, no, there's me. And that's where that inner beauty comes from. You start going, my soul's telling me I'm beautiful. Well, yeah, you are beautiful. We've been programmed not to think we're beautiful, but our soul knows we're beautiful. Our soul knows that our soul and our spirit know we're perfect. We're perfect in this moment in time. And then once you find that place, you go, okay, I'm going quiet. I'm going, hello's me. And now what do I do? I'm gonna reach what I call a 0 point. And you go, relax, relax, relax. And then, oh no, I'm surrendering. And there they are. And so you find spirit, you find the consciousness, and then you go, hello. And then you can sit with your loved ones. Because if I can do this, so can you, so can anyone. This is not a flipping gift. There are those that are natural to it, I grant you, but if I can do it, so can else. I'm not saying that anyone wants to dedicate their life to it. My world, my life is this. But I'm not saying you want that, but you can certainly learn to sit in the quiet, sit in the silence, surrender, and feel your own loved ones, because where else are they going to be?
So true.
Yeah.
So true. It touched my heart there with that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Where should we go now? Would you want to tell us about your website, becs-medium.com?
Yeah. Yeah. I've
What
got a
can we find
website.
there?
A website is just a bit about me, a bit what I do. I do a lot on Facebook, and that's you can find me on Facebook. It's Becs Becs UK, then stroke medium. You'll find. I'm sure you'll find me. I do little morning meditations during lockdown. I was doing 6 nights a week online. I try and do a mediumship live once a month, which is literally me, mediumship, spirit, talking, joking, laughing, crying for like 2 or 3 hours at a time once a month. I do shoes. I do shows, but and I've got another book I'm just started, and that's going to be called Hugs from Heaven, because they're very special and they happen. That's like an overshadowing as I hold someone and they actually feel their loved one, and then we take it. Then they can breathe them in through their heart to heart. They breathe them into their soul.
I've never
Mhm.
heard about that. Could you
No,
tell,
I'm very unique. Okay,
could
hug
you
from
could you share that again?
yeah,
Because
sure, of
I
course
think
I
we'd
will.
all like that. Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm working in a dem or a show, and let's say it's a classic, a soulmate, a husband. It happened. So a husband wants to reunite with his wife, and it's a reunion. It's wonderful. It's happening, and I go, yeah, he wants to hug you, doesn't he? She goes, oh my God, I want a hug. So okay, so it's 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 not like the film Ghost when Patrick Swayze jumps into Whoopi. It's not quite the same as that. But so if imagine she's there physically, I'm here physically, and we come together. Well, within my energetic field, my auric field, whatever you want to call it, I invite them in, and he draws closer and closer and closer. So it's almost like an overshadowing. It's not chance, it's like an overshadowing. And as I hug that lady, I surrender and in essence become him. And it becomes so strong that whatever I'm doing, it's like the film Ghost now. It's like the husband is now hugging her. And then what will happen sometimes is that I can feel her heart center. And I've done the last year, I've worked a lot on my own heart center, and I can feel it happen. I can feel it opening. I say, yep, we can feel him. I say, look, I say, close your eyes. I said, you can either imagine it, you can pretend it, you can see it as a visualization, or just open your heart. And she I said, now breathe in through your heart, and you'll feel his, and she feels the love go into him, into her. So that love becomes what? So that reunion isn't just, well, it can't be physical, it's beyond physical. And I was the big when I first did it, I thought, oh, that's a bit, it's a bit showbiz, isn't it? It's a bit rubbish. I thought, yeah, I'm making it up. I'm a skeptic. And the third time it happened, I was, I never forget, it was about 42. I think he said it was 42. Can't remember. And she's in her early 30s. And I said, your husband wants to hug you. Oh, yes, please. So I'm giving her this hug. I can feel him. But my hand started to go down towards her bottom. I said, oh, God, I've got to stop. Got to stop. I'm so sorry. And she said, what? I said, well, I'm really sorry. I've got to stop. I said, he wanted me to squeeze your bottom cheeks with both my hands. And then she went, now I know it's him. I said, what do you mean? She said, he could never give me a hug. And he had a name for it. He said he called it his cheeky double grab. He couldn't cuddle me without his cheeky double grab. So in that moment, because I surrendered to it. And so sometimes I'm just hugging gently, sometimes I'm patting, because it's their hug with their loved one. And it's called a hug from heaven.
That's incredible evidence going to squeeze the bum. What would you say to people that kind of brush it off and say it's my imagination? It's oh, that's I saw my son or daughter, but that must just be my imagination.
Yeah, that's okay. Fair enough. No, okay. Because again, with this work that we do, I always say we can't be evangelical. We're not trying to convert anyone. You can't. You're just saying this is. You say to someone, "What's your truth?" Well, I saw them. Okay. Well, I was making it up. Okay. Well, was I making it up? Well, I don't know. Was you? What do you? Then I go, what do you feel? Because the body knows. The soul in the body will tell you. It's like when people say they see someone at the corner of their eye and they turn and they've gone. I said, well, do you know why they've gone? Well, I was making it up. No, no, no. At the corner of your eye, they're there. But the minute you turn and the brain gets involved, the brain says they can't be there, so you can't see them. That's why your little ones can see them, because no one's telling them they can't. So,
So true.
yeah. So when it was, dreams is a classic one. Okay, because for me, and again, I'm only sharing my stories, and what my truth is that a dream's a dream's a dream. You can dream about someone you love, and it can be wonderful. You can have a nightmare about someone you love. It's a dream. But what I believe happens when we go to sleep and the brain waves all change and the brain goes quiet, again, it frees the spirit to have a bit more space. So when a loved one draws close, the brain's not involved, it's asleep. So spirit goes, hello. And we have this reunion that you think's a dream, but it goes into the long-term memory. So any dream that is a visitation has gone into the long-term memory. And that's when I go, that's a visitation, because it's not a clearing out of the brain. It's not a clearing out like a dream clears out and you can't onto it. It's not even a short-term memory. It's a clearing out of stuff. But if it goes from, well, hold on a minute, it's gone to my long-term memory. Yeah, because it's an experience that your mind is holding on to. It's an experience, not a clearing out. Again, that's only my view. Experts might say I'm wrong, but in my experience, it tends to be what happens.
Yeah, and all of our experiences are true to us. We have lots of different guests on this show, and some I agree with, some I don't. And I always say to those listening or viewing, pay attention to your own soul. Does this resonate with you? Because my truth might not be somebody else's truth. However, if it can inspire you to live a good life and seems to make sense, well, take that on board for yourself. And I love that you said that about when people say it's just your imagination, turn to your feelings. Because so often we're in this busy head that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
Slow down, go to your feelings.
I mean, if I run a workshop for like beginners mediumship, and their work, the first half of the day is always on themselves, about quieting their conscious mind, getting out of the way, doing little gentle exercises, all about building confidence or opening confidence. And when they start working in partner work, they've got someone's mum on their names, and they go, oh, I thought I was making it up. Well, tell that woman in front of you who's crying, whose mum you've just got, it's your imagination, because you've told her stuff only she knows. Well, because what it is, it's that realization. Because what it is, especially when people who've got skeptic minds or are non-believers, or they're fixed in their belief system, the minute they've got to face something that makes them change that paradigm, it changes their whole life. Because it means that their whole fixed viewpoint of, well, when you're dead, you're dead. Well, actually, you're not. But they have that fixed belief, that fixed knowing. And something comes along and it makes them question that. It isn't just like that medium says things about my dad. It's making them on a conscious level question their whole existence. They've gone thinking they've only got a life for 60, 70 years, 80 years, to knowing they're an eternal being. It's huge when someone faces that. And you can understand why people go, oh, I'm making up. Yeah, okay, if you think so. Because it's you and I go, yep, I don't want this life to end yet. There's things I want to change. I'm not happy about a few things on my body, but we're not. No, but ultimately, thank you very much. I'm blessed. It's taken me a long time, and I always imagine if God took me home tonight, I would be really angry at Him because I'm not very. But when you cross over, you see it differently. It's things I still want to do, things I'm enjoying. But it's taken a long journey of self-exploration, and that's the thing. A lot of people, not everyone's ready to face it. Not everyone's ready for that to open up to life is eternal. And we can't make people change their minds. All we can say is, here's our truth. What do you think? So when I do shows, and I always say, for like as a working medium, where our performance, and it isn't before. I don't want to say it's a show because it's not. It's a show. It's never a show. And I want to be entertaining, but I'm not cheap entertainment. But it's still, you're still performing in front of people. So, but it's the only one where if you go and see your favorite musician, I don't know, mine was someone called Christopher, well, he still is, and I'd go to his concerts, and I'd watch his concerts. I'd watch a load of them. Even his ad lib lines were the same, and the set was pretty much the same. They've practiced that for months and months and months. If you go and see your favorite comedian, they've pretty much, I mean, they might throw the odd thing in, but they've practiced their set. If you go and see your favorite play, you're going to see your favorite actor. You're seeing favorite. We are the only profession where people come along to rip us apart. And it does happen, and that is the nature of the beast. It's just like, people. I worked once with a guy called Colin Fry. I was very blessed to know him for a little while before he died, not long, but I was blessed to work with him. And he explained, when he said it's a numbers game, I don't mean money wise. He said, if you've got 500 people in an audience, there'll be 100 of those that are devout followers of you. They love your work, they follow you. Beautiful. You have another 150, 200 people that will go, yeah, it's me. I hope they come to me and see what happens. And you might have 100 people like this, but you're going to get 100 people. You're going to get 20% of those people that are there who have come to see it's rubbish. They've come to prove that there's no such thing as life after, and they've come to prove there's no such thing as mediumships. I did a chat. I do a lot of charity nights, and I remember doing this school one night to help raise money for their PTA. And this man came up at the end of the night. He said, "I want to have a word with you, please." I thought, oh, he's really not a bit aggressive. He said, he pointed, I came tonight to out you, to see what a load of rubbish this all is. And I was determined to show people that this is all false. I went, oh, okay. So, until you got my dad, first of all. So the guy was wonderful about admitting it. But what I loved there was, you see, the thing with charity nights, they're my biggest challenge, because you get people come to them that would never go to a show normally. And that spirit going, we'll have this one. And I'm going, really? And it can be like pulling teeth, but spirit again know their job. It's
Wow. Well, thank you for that.
okay.
And no, I just got so many thoughts in my head. Excuse
I
me.
took for hours. I took for hours. Sorry.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. So, the name of your book is Suicide and the Surviving Spirit: True Life Stories of Healing Through Mediumship. You can purchase it through your website, on Amazon.
Only it's through Amazon. It's just through Amazon. You can. It's
Okay.
a Kindle or as a book.
Okay. Perfect. What words would you like to leave before we depart today? It's been really lovely speaking
Oh,
with you.
it's going to sound very simplistic, but what comes with every day is a gift. What are you going to do with it? Or if you want to say, I was once with to change the actual quote was from a shaman who I was doing sacred plant medicine once, called ayahuasca, and he said, "Every breath is a gift." And I added, "What are you going to do with it?"
Perfect words. Perfect words. And I know what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about the medium demonstrations and those skeptics. I was once a die-hard skeptic, didn't believe in any of this, but something cracked open that door. So to
No,
offer the charity night, and people that wouldn't normally come. Bex, I know there comes a day in everyone's life, no matter how skeptical that they are, that they either experience the loss of a loved one who's truly not lost, but a death of a loved one, or maybe they have their own health issues and they start asking those questions. So thank you for showing up and being there no matter what. You have to have very thick skin as a medium, and for your life you've been through, I'm sure, but you wouldn't be anybody else. You are one of a kind. You make a difference, and you're perfect.
bless you. Thank you so much, and so are you.
Thank you very much.
You're very
Takes,
welcome.
takes one to know one. Well, thank you for being our guest today.
You're so welcome.
Really enjoyed it. And to our listener or our viewer, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. A reminder, Beck's book is called Suicide and the Surviving Spirit. You can find her website at becs-medium.com. And I'd just like to say, I'm Sandra Champlain. It is always such a pleasure to be your host. Please come visit me at wedon'tdie.com. Like I said, at the bottom of the page, you can enter your name and email address. You'll get a free copy of my book and so many other things. Between this podcast and my other podcast on iHeartRadio, I'm now approaching 750 hours of episodes. Yes, I said it, 750 hours of episodes. It takes something to get out of that busy mind and be present. And whether we see a medium, whether we listen to a podcast, read a good book, stay engaged with like-minded souls, we need that as human beings to remind us who we really are. Souls here, divine souls, having experiences. We are that vehicle, that car, that shell, but we have a beautiful soul, each and every one of us does. So in closing, I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen or to watch, and we'll see you soon.